Everybody keeps telling you, this is your year. But nobody talks about the part where becoming her actually hurts. The part where you're proud of your growth, but still grieving who you used to be. The part where you're doing better on paper, but feel tired in ways rest doesn't fix. If you've ever felt like you're outgrowing your old life, but haven't fully landed in the new one yet, this is for you. I want to say this slowly because I need you to hear it. You're not confused. You're not falling behind. And you're not doing growth wrong. You're just in the part nobody romanticizes, the in-between. The space where you've let go of who you were, but you're still learning how to trust who you're becoming. I wrote a song called Letter to the Woman I'm Becoming. And this episode isn't about the music. It's about the space behind it. The thoughts you don't post. The grief you don't name. The quiet decisions that don't look like growth from the outside, but change everything on the inside. So whether you've heard the song or not, whether this just found you scrolling, or you've been here from the beginning, sis, sit with me for a minute. Because if we're being honest, nobody really prepares you for what it feels like to say goodbye to a version of yourself that kept you safe. We talk about elevation like it's exciting all the time. Like you wake up one day, fully healed, fully confident, fully ready. But real growth feels quieter than that, lonelier than that, heavier than that. Because some versions of you weren't wrong. They were necessary. They helped you survive seasons you didn't think you'd make it through. So when you start to outgrow them, it doesn't just feel like progress, it feels like loss. And that's where I want to start today. Not with motivation, not with pressure, not with this is your year energy, but with honesty. To the woman I'm becoming. That line didn't come from confidence. It came from curiosity, from awareness, from realizing that the old ways of moving, loving, showing up, and shrinking weren't going to take you where you were praying to go. It came from noticing that you don't chase anymore, not because you stopped caring, but because you finally stopped betraying yourself. There was a time you chased clarity, chased closure, chased people who were inconsistent and called it patience. But now, you pause, you observe, you listen. And that change didn't happen overnight. It happened after disappointment, after burnout, after realizing how much of yourself you were giving away just to feel chosen. You don't break the same. That means when things fall apart now, you don't fall apart with them. You still feel it, you still grieve it, but you don't abandon yourself in the process anymore. And that took work. Work nobody clapped for, work nobody saw. Work you did quietly while still showing up for everybody else. And that's the part nobody talks about. Let's talk about the habits you're still holding on to. Not the obvious ones, not the ones people like to call out. I'm talking about the survival habits. The ones you picked up when you didn't have support, when you had to be strong, when nobody was coming to save you. Those habits didn't make you weak, they made you resilient. But here's the truth we don't say enough. What helped you survive can also keep you stuck. Some of the ways you move now aren't because that's who you are. They're because that's who you had to be. Being the strong one, being the dependable one, being the one who holds it together even when everything inside you feels shaky. You didn't choose that role because you wanted attention. You chose it because it was necessary. And now that you're trying to grow, trying to elevate, trying to hear God clearly, those same habits feel heavy. Because survival doesn't feel good once you're no longer in danger. This is why becoming her feels uncomfortable. Not because you're doing something wrong, but because healing asks you to put down what you once needed to pick up. And that's scary. Because who are you if you're not the one who saves everyone? Who are you if you're not the strong one? Who are you if you stop over-explaining, over-giving, over-performing? Let me tell you something gently but clearly. You are not losing yourself. You are meeting yourself without the armor. And armor feels safe until it gets heavy. This is the part where people say, just be soft, but they never tell you how hard that actually is. Softness requires trust. Trust in yourself. Trust in God. Trust that you don't have to control everything to be okay. And if you're honest, you've been controlling things because at one point in your life, control was the only thing you had. So of course, letting go feels like risk. But here's the reframe. Healing doesn't mean you stop being strong. It means you stop being tense. It means you don't walk into every situation ready to brace for impact. It means you don't prepare for disappointment before it even happens. You learn to walk away without making a scene. That didn't mean you stopped caring. It meant you stopped begging people to treat you right. And that's a hard shift, because silence can feel like rejection when you're used to fighting for understanding. But walking away quietly is often the loudest form of self-respect. You learn to stay soft without losing your strength. That means you don't harden your heart just because you've been hurt. You stay open, but you stay discerning. You don't close yourself off, you just close access. And that's growth. Not the loud kind, the grounded kind. This is where I want you to stop judging yourself. If you're feeling exposed, if you feel like old versions of you are shedding, if you're questioning habits that once felt normal, that doesn't mean you're regressing. It means your nervous system is learning a new way to exist, and that takes time. So if you feel tired, it's not because you're failing. It's because you're unlearning. And unlearning takes just as much energy as building something new. Be patient with yourself here. You're not weak for feeling this. You're brave for staying. I want to slow down here for a second. Because this is where people usually get uncomfortable. We talk about healing like it's all relief. Like once you choose growth, everything gets lighter. But nobody warns you that healing comes with grief. Grief for who you were. Grief for what you tolerated. Grief for the time you spent not knowing what you know now. And that grief doesn't mean you regret your growth. It means you're honoring your journey. There are moments where you look back and think, I wish I knew then what I know now. And that thought can hurt. But listen to me. You learned what you needed when you needed it. You didn't miss the lesson. You survived the season. Be gentle with the version of you who didn't have the tools you have now. She wasn't weak. She was learning. This is the part of becoming her that doesn't get posted. The quiet mourning, the identity shift, the realization that some doors closed not because you failed, but because you outgrew them. And outgrowing doesn't always feel empowering. Sometimes it feels like standing alone in a space that used to be full. You don't get to take everyone with you. That's a hard truth. Some people only knew how to love you in your survival era. They don't recognize you now that you're choosing peace. And that can make you question yourself. It can make you wonder if you're changing too much. But let me be clear, you didn't lose your heart, you protected it. You didn't become cold, you became discerning. You didn't stop loving, you stopped overextending. There is a difference. Softness isn't about letting people back in who hurt you. Softness is about not becoming hard because of what you've been through. It's about staying open to joy, open to love, open to God, without reopening wounds you worked hard to heal. And that balance, that takes wisdom. So if you're feeling tender right now, if you feel more emotional than usual, if certain things are hitting deeper than they used to, that's not weakness, that's awareness. You're more connected to yourself now, more honest with yourself now, more willing to sit with discomfort instead of distracting yourself from it. And that matters. Because you can't build a life that feels aligned while ignoring how you actually feel. This is where real peace starts. Not when everything is perfect, but when you stop lying to yourself about what hurts. And I know this part can feel heavy, so let me remind you of something important. You are not behind. You are not late. You are not doing this wrong. You are doing deep work, the kind that doesn't rush, the kind that doesn't perform, the kind that actually lasts. And if nobody has told you this today, I'm proud of you for choosing honesty over comfort. That choice alone is changing your life. Here's something I want you to really sit with. Becoming her was never about speed. It was never about how fast you healed, how quickly you moved on, or how soon your life started looking different. It was always about alignment. And alignment takes time. Because alignment asks you to move in a way that actually matches what your spirit can sustain. There was a version of you that knew how to grind through anything, push through exhaustion, ignore your body, override your intuition. And that version got you far. But she also got tired. This new version of you, she listens before she leaps. She checks in before she commits. She asks herself, does this cost me my peace? Before she says yes. And sometimes that makes you feel slow. It makes you feel like you're falling behind when you see everyone else moving fast. But fast doesn't mean aligned. Some people are running full speed in the wrong direction. And you decided you're not doing that anymore. That takes courage. There will be moments in this season where it feels like nothing is happening, where you're not announcing moves, not posting milestones, not checking boxes. But don't confuse quiet with stagnation. Some of the most important shifts in your life will happen internally before they ever show up externally. You're learning how to move without forcing outcomes, how to trust God without needing a timeline, how to rest without guilt whispering in your ear. And I know that's uncomfortable because you're used to proving yourself. But this season isn't asking you to prove anything. It's asking you to trust. Trust that what's meant for you won't require you to abandon yourself. Trust that what's aligned won't leave you anxious all the time. Trust that God doesn't rush what He's building. If something feels delayed right now, it's not punishment, it's precision. There are things you're being protected from that you can't see yet. There's growth happening beneath the surface that wouldn't survive if it were exposed too early. So instead of asking, why am I not there yet? Try asking, what am I being prepared for? Because the woman you're becoming needs a foundation strong enough to hold the life you're praying for. Not a rushed version, not a half-healed version, the real one. And you're closer than you think. Before we end this, I want you to hear me clearly. You don't have to rush this version of you. You don't have to explain your growth. You don't have to justify your boundaries. You don't have to make sense to people who only knew you in survival mode. Becoming her was never about perfection. It was about permission. Permission to move slower. Permission to choose peace. Permission to stop proving your worth through exhaustion. And if this episode stirred something in you, If parts of it felt close to home, that's not weakness, that's recognition. You're recognizing yourself in a new light. So here's what I want you to do after this ends. Not everything, just one thing. Ask yourself this question honestly. What am I still holding on to that I don't need to carry into this next version of my life? You don't have to answer it out loud. You don't have to fix it today. Just notice what comes up. That awareness alone is movement. And if this spoke to you, I want you to stay connected. Leave a comment. Share this with someone who's in that in-between space. And come back for the next episode. Because Unthreaded isn't about having it all figured out. It's about telling the truth while you're becoming. Before we go, I want to pray for you. God, I thank you for the woman listening right now. The one who's been strong for so long, she forgot what rest feels like. I ask that you quiet the pressure around her. The pressure to rush. The pressure to perform. The pressure to be everything for everyone. Give her clarity without anxiety. Peace without guilt. Confidence without comparison. Help her trust that her timing is not delayed, that her growth is not invisible, that her becoming is not accidental. Cover her heart where it feels tender. Strengthen her where she feels unsure. And remind her that you are walking with her, not ahead of her, not behind her, but beside her. Let this next season be rooted. Let it be honest. Let it be aligned. And when she doubts herself, remind her that she didn't come this far to abandon herself now. Amen. To the woman you're becoming, you're not late, you're not lost, and you're not alone. I'll see you in the next episode.